Hey, this is Brad with Blue Nile Farm. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to take a plunger out of a 338 John Deere baler, square baler. I had my plunger go out with me about 4 months ago, and I was not on YouTube at the time, so I'm going to kind of walk you through it. I had a look on YouTube, and I only found one video that would help me, and it was done by HayRYO. That's his channel, Hay, HayRYO. And he was taking a plunger out of a 336. It's real, and that was helpful to me, but I'm gonna also put my 2 cents in why I did it and walk you through it my way too. So if you watch both videos, and maybe anybody else that wants to throw in there, it'll help you out as far as how to do this. It's not a hard job to do. It is a two-man job for sure, because the plunger's kind of heavy and pulling it out of the baler. But the reason why I had to pull my plunger out was that I had a cotter pin that holds the shaft to the plunger, and as it was rotating around, there's a bearing that kind of slid through because the cotter pin broke off, and my needle came up and hit the bearing and shattered into 3 pieces. So I was kind of stuck, so I had to pull the whole plunger out to do that repair. But I also had another problem that I wanted to pull the plunger out anyway, and it's because I wanted to basically put new knives on my plunger, and one of them is on the sidewall and one's actually on the plunger itself. So to repair that, you almost have to pull the plunger out anyway. And the reason why I replaced the knives were that they had a bunch of nicks in the knives from wear and tear. And what was happening too sometimes is some of the bales were actually catching and not coming apart as they're coming up to shoot. So I also found out that after I replaced the knives, then my baler would feed better, it would eat hay quicker and better. So if you ever have a problem where your baler is really not digesting the hay off the field as well, a lot of times maybe you may have to change your knives. But anyway, with that said, I'm going to kind of walk you through this, because again, I've done this before, and I'm going to take you step by step through the process on what you need to take off and what you don't. And hopefully, again, if you watch my video and the other guys, you get a good idea of how to do it. So stay tuned, and hopefully this will help you. So the first step in taking the plunger out is we need to completely clean out our chamber. So to clean it out, remove all the hay, cut the strings, take the string completely, cut them from the knotters, clean off your knotters, because you're going to have to restring this whole unit when you're done. But we're going to take all the hay out. That's step one, and all string. All right, so as you move up to the plunger area, the 2 bolts that you need to remove right off the bat are these 2 bolts right here at the shaft. They have to be pulled out. And this shaft is what connects to the plunger, and it's going to stay on the plunger as you pull it out and then as you put it back. So this is where it becomes to be a two-man job, because when we do pull the plunger out, somebody has to operate and handle and manage this piece, and the other person is going to have to help you fish it out the other end. So, but this is the first 2 things we need to do, is remove these bolts. So when you go on the inside of the baler, right here, we have the Hay Restrictor Plate that's held by 4 bolts. Take those out. So the plate with the cups is called the Hay Restrictor Plate, and the knife is directly in front of it. And that's held by 3 bolts and nuts. And then for the knives, it's these 3 bolts. So once those 3 bolts are removed, 1, 2, 3, you can reach again inside the chamber and pull out the knife after it's removed. So these things have to be pulled off on the inside of the baler. The second hay resistor plate that you'll find is right here by the trip arm. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, take the bolts out and remove them from the unit and remove the restrictor plate. So when we're over here at the knotters, we have to deal with something called a hay dog. And there's 2 of them on top of this baler, right up here, and 1 of them that's completely underneath. And what it is basically almost like a V piece of metal that's held by a spring. And once the baler's chamber is clear, you can adjust and play with that hay dog and be able to lift it up. But what you need to do is slide something down underneath it. And because this whole chamber here needs to be an empty box with nothing hanging down, so we can pull that plunger out. And those little hay dogs basically get in the way. So figure out some piece of metal. I used a big washer that's probably a 2-inch washer, and I would slide that underneath and keep the hay dogs from coming down because they're spring loaded. Again, there's 2 of them. One here, this is the hay dog right here. There's one over here, and there's going to be one completely underneath the baler by the needles where the needles come up, and it's pretty much centered in the middle of the baler. And you'll see that pretty clear when you look under there. And that will open up your chamber section up in here. So one of the last things you need to do is replace or reduce the tension that's on here. So either look on your unit and see where your starting point is here, or count your revolutions on both of these handles and loosen up the pressure plate that's here. And then once that's loose, there should be no restrictions at all going through here. If you could lift this plate up or put a board or something across to hold this plate, that's fine, so that you have no restrictions. But the bottom line is, you know, without reinventing the wheel, try to make sure you know exactly where your wraps are. So when you put it back together, you can tighten it up exactly where you left off. That's probably one of the better things you can do. And once that's done, we're ready to take the plunger out. So unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the plunger, but the plunger is just a metal box. It's of over 100 pounds. It's kind of heavy, and that's where it takes 2 people. So when you're ready to take it, the plunger itself runs on a track system, basically a bunch of metal flat plates, and it has a bunch of caster rollers on the bottom and some on the top, I believe, and it basically slides across effortlessly. That's when it's running through the revolutions. It just goes back and forth constantly. So check those casters, make sure there are no flat spots, that everything's hold the way it's supposed to hold, and also replace the knife that's on there. I suggest you get brand new knives. I think they're like $150, $175 a piece. Put brand new knives. There'll be 2 of them, so it'll be a total of $300 or so, and your machine will run way better once you replace those knives if you need to. But I thought that was a good thing because you already have it apart. Other than that, put it back the same way that you took it out. And once it gets up in the chamber, again, it's going to be very simple to work with. But it takes 2 people. One's going to have to hold the shaft going out, and one's going to help fish it out in the back end. And once it's back together, then the last thing you need to do is get your string restarted again. So the last thing we need to do is restring the baler. So to do so, it takes 2 people to do it manually. One person is going to take this wheel and rotate it counterclockwise. And they're going to keep acting like it's being fed hay. The second person is going to be working toward the back. So what you need to do the back end here for a manual retie is make sure you set your string up like you would if you're in the field if your string broke. Run it through the knotters, run it through the system, tie it off. Then what you're going to wind up doing is basically take that string and create pressure as you mimic a bale going through the system, and keep pulling that string backward toward you as your buddy's flipping the wheel. And eventually the needles will come up and interact with the knotters, cut and tie. And as long as you keep creating pressure, then you're going to mimic, again, hay going through the system. And it should tie off like it should, and you should be done, and you'll know that it's working properly. Once you have that set, you're good to go. And you'll also realize too, by pushing it manually, that there's nothing binding up along the way. If you get confused on that subject, and since I can't really demonstrate it, my best suggestion is look on YouTube videos and other people that have done it. I think the Scientific Farmer has and I believe that's who I watched, has a video specifically on cleaning out a chamber for a hay baler, and he covers 3 ways, but that's one of the ways for you to watch, and that'll give you a little bit of help as well. Hey guys, thanks for joining me in the video. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful, at least give you a better insight as how to take a plunger out and possibly put it back in. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate it, and I feel bad about that. But at least it was a subject that I didn't see a lot of information out there, and I wanted to get it out there so it might be helpful to somebody. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.